Chapter 1, Let Wildness Begin. This was where the journey started for me. We are filled with longing for the wild. There are few culturally sanctioned antidotes for this yearning. We're taught to feel shame for such a desire, so we grow our hair long and use it to hide our feelings. But the shadow of wild woman still lurks behind us during our days and in our nights. No matter where we are, the shadow that trots behind us is definitely four-footed. Dressed in an elegant vinyl pleated green bottle green skirt and top, which flows the length of my body from around my neck to the top of my ankles, I'm trying to cover up my feelings of shame. I even have the audacity to wear a hat cocked sideways on my head with a sassy little flower that says, "It's all your fault. I don't need you." I never wear hats. I listen and shudder as the hammer falls and the declaration is announced. It is final. I am divorced. A statistic. Single. A few days after the court date, which marks the end of the marital era, I wake up from a troubled dream, sweating and calling her name. "Rosie!" She's not entered my consciousness for at least 25 years. In the dream, I'm trying to escape from boarding school walls with no windows. My efforts are futile. The walls are smooth and I have nowhere to grip. I keep sliding back to where I started from. There's a sense of no way out. I call out her name again. "Rosie!" Because unlike the merciless emptiness of those entrapping walls, I know she will bring freedom with her thin black arm hugs and her wide, generous smile. Rosie is a 15-year-old black girl employed to take care of me when my sister was born. My sister was not well as a baby and needed much of my devoted mother's attention. When Rosie plays with me in the warm sand, I feel sunshine in my belly. She treats me like I'm worth being around. My favorite playtime with Rosie is making mud cakes underneath the marilla tree. Emerging from the dreamy fog, I lie back on my pillow and memories of Rosie come floating into the present. I even remember the occasion when the gardener slaughtered a rooster. I was 3 years old, I think. The rooster sprints past the sandpit where Rosie and I had been playing. It's headless and seems to be trying to run from its final fate. Instinctively, I leap from Rosie's lap and give chase. What fun! But not for long. The rooster runs through the embers of a smoldering rubbish heap and feels nothing. But the soles of my feet are throbbing hot. I scream, "Rosie!" Swiftly, she leaps up, and my next sensation, thankfully, is one of cool relief. She has perched me on the kitchen sink. Both feet are dangling over cold steel into smooth, icy water. Teary-eyed and anxious, Rosie mumbles something in Bemba, her native language, and gingerly kisses my blistered toes. I lean my head on her shoulder. Even then, I knew, if she could, she would have swapped her feet for mine. "Mommy, where's my mommy?" I ask Rosie. I lift my head from the pillow and notice tears are trickling down my cheeks. I notice the family picture hanging on the wall, me, my 2 sisters, and my mother and father. I remember feeling like the ugly duckling in our family, the chubby one, the one that everybody thought contrary, the one that did not fit in. My eyes wander and I smile at the next picture I focus on. It's me holding my daughter in my arms soon after her birth. In a reflective state, my mind floats towards thoughts of my own birth. I don't remember much, except my mother telling me as a young pregnant mother-to-be that I hurt her when I was born. Those words haunt me. My mind continues its wandering associations back to when I'm a student studying social work. In my third year, I experiment with a birthing experience or a rebirthing experience. In this experience, I'm trying to push through the birth canal of my mother's womb. It feels warm but claustrophobic and suffocating. I know with an instinctive urgency I have to get out. The walls of her uterus are slippery, just like the boarding school prison walls of my dream. She is keeping me in, blocking the exit. I think she's afraid. I'm screaming from the outside. She's yelling on the inside. And from that moment on, the cells of my body tell me I'm unwanted. I don't think my mother was quite ready for me to be born. Once in my teens, I heard my parents fighting. My mother screamed at my father with deep anguish in her voice. The only reason I had children was to try and hold our family together and to keep you at home. I think she hoped that if I was growing in her pregnant stomach, he would have come home earlier from work and not much later after a few drinks at the bar. Unfortunately, when I was born, I was more than she bargained for. She lost her freedom. I drift back from my thoughts to revisualizing my rebirthing experience again. I can see my mother lying on a post-birthing hospital bed, exhausted, with painful stitches holding her body together where I'd come out. She feels abandoned. She wants my father and he's missing. I want her and she withholds herself. Maybe if he came, I think to myself, she would have given me her breast. My mother struggled to be fully present in my life. Instead, Rosie was the healing balm that gave me a sense of identity. And remembering her is creating a longing to return to the place where I was born and to the bush. I want to put my feet in the sand under the marilla tree and feel the warmth of the earth again. My rational mind now explains to my subconscious that because of Rosie's little breasts offered to me when I was 3 years old, I instinctively knew where to find a bigger breast, attached to Mother Nature, who lived at the end of our long rural driveway. He lived along the Kafue River in a small Zambian settlement of houses and plots collectively called Garneton. My father works on the mine 8 kilometers away. He's an analytical chemist. My mother stays at home. From the age of 3, I'm often a runaway, or should I say a toddler away, to the bush at the end of the driveway. I love it there, especially when my sister's born, and I'm often told, "Not now." I think back again to that time and visualize running down the long driveway. I had a big smile on my face as I indulged these thoughts. Mother Nature is waiting for me. The bush is a place where I can connect with myself and experience a bushman-like sense of rootedness and belonging. In my imagination, I remember clambering over fallen logs and feeling the gentle scrape of bark on my legs. I feel alive. The wind strokes my baby bump cheeks, and the sun kisses my freckled upturned nose. The milk upon which I flourish is the feathered flash of color and the choral calling of multiple bird songs, harmonizing with humming bees and screeching crickets. It's here that Mother Nature comes out to play with me when Rosie is at school. It's here that I really feel at ease. Chapter 2. Returning to the wild. Animals reveal to us our own internal landscape: aggression, fear, insecurity, happiness, or a new opportunity. Because they have the ability to read our involuntary tics and scents, when we're with them, we're transparent to them and thus exposed. I am finally myself. In that moment, I am finally myself. Emotional healing is like peeling the layers off an onion. Each animal I was drawn to observe showed me a new layer of my life that needs to be peeled back, touched, healed, influenced. As a young child, I wandered off. I was often brought home by old traditional black men, fathers of the land. Their ready grins exposed mealy-stumped teeth. They would take my hand and say, "Little missy, where you live?" I love the wrinkles in their cheeks, so similar to the leathery skins of the wise matriarchal elephants I'd meet in my adult years. What these kind-hearted men and the elephants have in common is a shared knowledge of the earth passed down through the centuries by their forefathers. When I start kindergarten at the age of 5 years, my circle of friends expand and include 2 older boys who live in the 3rd house down our rural dirt road, Bruce and Sean. Sometimes we'd squat around a small fire we'd made from scraps of dry leaves and wood lying around in the garden. Once Bruce killed a small bird with what we call a caddy, a modern-day bow and arrow. It's a small but strong forked branch with thick rubber tied to each fork. The stone is placed into the middle of the rubber, which is pulled back until taut and then released to missile a stone towards a target. I remember the day as if it was yesterday. Sean is sitting next to me, removing the seeds from the bird's crop. I feel her soft feathers before she's splayed on the fire to be cooked. The little bird has sacrificed her life for our sustenance. This is what my primitive thoughts consternate. But really, there was so little of her sweet flesh and those delicate bones that we could just save her a taste. Can you imagine what it must be like to be real hunters? Now as an adult, a new, hurting, confused divorcee, I'm again searching for the hugging I found as a child in these bush places. I plan a journey in an endeavor to remember and to recover. Jung tells us that nothing has a stronger negative influence on our children's lives and on our environment than the unlived life of a parent. I know that if I find joy and direction again, I'll be a mother that can support her 2 children to heal from their family being torn apart. If you drive south from where I was born, across into Zimbabwe, where the Victoria Falls straddles both borders, you're still a long way off from Mana Pools, which is the wilderness place to where I'm heading. So keep on driving south past Wangi National Park until you reach the landing strip of Milabezi, a small settlement on the edge of Lake Kariba. Here, my friends Oscar, Ingy, and I clamber aboard the top of the ferry, where our car is parked below. The 3 of us, a businessman, a psychotherapist, and a photographer, are excited for our new adventure together. However, if you probe through our outer facade and take a more penetrating look at our internal landscape, we could be described quite differently: a gay, a divorcee, and an alcoholic. We're all different to one another, but essentially say one truth. From birth until now, the many reflections we've seen in our mothering mirrors are shattered and incoherent. Ingy, Oscar, and I have a lot of searching and a lot of growing up to do. Little Ingy had a father who secretly cornered her with his lustful pursuits from 10 years old until 15, when she chose to go to a school 15 kilometers away to live with her grandmother. Temporarily satisfied, he would leave her alone, but only for a while. He threatened that the family would fall apart if she shared their seductive secret. Oscar had a high society mother, a philanthropist, so they say. Everyone else ate the cookies of her charitable indulgence, while he starved for her affection. His father would come home from work and spend most of his evenings tucked away with several glasses of red wine and the next chapter of his book. All of us have come to a decision: no more life as it is. We're all longing for a different self-portrait, a deeper connectedness with unique passions. Hence, this journey is an attempt to integrate the shattered and confused understandings of ourselves so that our reflections are authentically more our own. After watching the sunset, parting most of the night, sleeping on the deck under the stars, and waking up to see the sunrise, we arrive at the docks in Kariba. Not far away, a big bull elephant is satisfying his thirst with a trunk-long slurp of fresh lake water. Watching us arrive is a Goliath heron, her long legs outstretched, her wings drying in the sun, and her majestic fish-seeking beak stretching ahead. As soon as we're too close for her comfort, she folds in her drying feathers, flaps into the distance with graceful, slow, sturdy up and down movements of her wings. We're told Kariba is a town where elephants, leopards, and lions sometimes share the streets with their human inhabitants and their dogs. A fellow ferry partygoer tells us late last night about a security guard who has found up a tree one morning in Kariba town. There was a pride of lions camped on the green lawn below where he was trying to be safe in a tree, just in front of the local Standard Bank. We drive the car off the ferry with camera clothes and all our cargo still on board, anticipant because Mana Pools is much closer now. Ingy and Oscar are staying in Kariba to visit with old friends from the university days they haven't seen for almost a decade. They will join me at Mana Pools after the weekend. I say goodbye to them, watching the animated greetings between all of them through my rear view mirror as I drive towards my own destination. The road meanders down a tree after tree escarpment into the bowl of the belly. Then the tar road becomes a dirt track. I drive through the game-guarded gate. Sean is waiting for me. He's my game guide friend with whom I'll tent up, together with my book, Woman Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Esty. This city girl is returning to her roots. Each familiar sound, smell, and place awakens neural pathways, and I experience a deep relaxation of my soul, at home again, at peace. Sean and I set up a tent 100 meters from the edge of the Zambezi River under a tall tree who graciously shades us with her expansive foliage. I'm exhausted from all the traveling, and after pumping up the blow-up mattress, I collapse onto the spongy bed and close my eyes. Sean, who I know to be a gentle gentleman, suddenly releases a string of expletives. Amused at this character transformation, I poke my head out of the tent. "What's up?" I ask. My red-faced, freckled-nosed friend, Sean, replies, "I was chasing off a pair of hyenas who had taunted me by repeatedly trying to bite into the lid of the cooler box. I can't believe they can smell the meat inside through the plastic." "Oh no," I sympathized as Sean babbles on. Then I heard a different kind of animal giggling behind me. It was the vervet monkeys running off with the marshmallows. As soon as I chased after them and they generously threw down one or two half-chewed pink and white marshmallows, I heard the hyenas laughing at me again. They had succeeded in biting open the lid of the cooler box and are running off with one of our steaks I had carefully chosen for tonight's dinner, and a string of spicy sausage. I laughed. Sean saw the funny side too, and with a slight grin and lowered eyes that would not directly look into mine, he apologized for all the swearing that night. That night, we shared the remaining steak, some salad, and 2 large baked potatoes that had been cooked on the braai. Our thin metal table and wooden fold-out chairs were positioned on the edge of the riverbank. You could hear the hippos come out to snort as if someone had just told them an underwater joke. The hyenas were still around and called from the dark, their amber eyes shining in the blackness. Without light pollution, the Milky Way paraded her stars and planets. I felt good. My belly was full, and the red wine was starting to make me feel mellow. Suddenly, there was a nibble on my toe. It was a honey badger. Sean heroically leapt from the table and chased it off. Each day, we walk with elephants, look into brown kudu eyes, watch the wild dogs and hyenas compete for their prey, usually an impala. I count over 100 bird species and see gigantic 6-meter crocodiles basking in the sun. One day, a 3-meter python slides past us. Each day is one more tentative step away from the failures and pains of the past. and one more step towards discovering new dreams.